Hello, everyone.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome to Growth Mind State.
Hi.
I'm Anthony Thompson.
Robert Catrona. How's everybody today?
And we're here to, yes, welcome everybody. We're opening up your minds and educate yourselves about the relevant events of this week, that kind of thing. That's what we're doing. So it's just us today. I wouldn't even call this a slow show. This is kind of, we're going to pan out some beliefs about how we feel about Biden in a minute, to be honest. Then we're going to have a little bit of a discussion about China is suspected of mobile spying and lithium batteries. It's not just lithium batteries, but it's really the lithium itself, which is in everything from your phone cases to your it's believe me, it's in everything at this point. And then at the end, we're talking about Myon Burrell, who was released from prison. How you feeling, man?
Uh, Good. The snowstorm's kind of crazy, but I'm not looking forward to shoveling snow. But I'll be all right. How are you doing today?
Yeah,
You know,
I'm all
it's
right. Not so much concerned about the snow, except as long if it really does mount up to like, I think it's a 4 inches, right?
I don't know. They were talking about in
I
some
bet.
areas up to a foot. So I don't know. It's gonna go in
Okay.
from now all the way into tomorrow. So who knows? And it's
Yeah.
gonna be below freezing. So a lot of that's gonna stick. Just hope it doesn't get like too heavy or whatever it is. Sometimes when it starts melting, it gets really slushy and heavy, but it doesn't seem like that's what's gonna happen. So hopefully it'll be nice and light and easy to move. We'll see. I'll let you know how my back feels
Yeah.
next time.
Exactly. I'm gonna have to even go out myself, because one thing about having is that you end up having to actually shovel your own front. Like, it
Yep,
even doesn't matter if it's not your apartment, really.
yep, yep,
If you don't do it, it's gonna just turn into ice. So you just
yep,
got to do it every time.
yep. I've fallen downstairs before. It's not a pretty sight. Yeah, it's not cool. And we have a house, so I have to do the outside, and then I have to go around to the back, do that. Then we have the backyard area that we have to walk through. So it's like, yeah, it's rough. The things we got to do is rough, but we'll be all right. You know, got a couple people in the
Yeah.
house. You know, got my boy. I
Will
have my
Will
boy
the
do it.
U.S. be all right?
Yeah, right.
uh, let's, let's transition to if the U.S. is going to be all right. And honestly, I know that I'm being super critical off the bat, but this is the exact choices that I kind of saw would happen for Biden's cabinet. So Biden's cabinet choices seem to be Pete Buttigieg for transportation secretary, Jennifer Granholm to run the energy department, Gina McCarthy for the domestic climate czar, which is great. Ali Zaidi for deputy White House climate coordinator, and Michael Reagan, which is likely to be the EPA administrator. So it's also important that this is all like they're rolling this out at a specific time where they want all of them to be climate related people, or energy or climate related people. So I want to be more critical. Yes, I do not want Pete Buttigieg anywhere near my executive office, but that's a personal opinion, not a
I don't
factual
person
opinion.
I personally don't like him too much. I think he's pretty phony. I think he's like he caters to whatever was popular at that moment. Like he was really cool with Bernie Sanders in the beginning, and then all of a sudden he was like during the primaries, he would kind of flaked on him. So I don't really like his personality. I don't think that he's the worst of the worst, but it's just something about him makes me feel like he's a little on the fake side. But it is what it is. I'm just
I
happy
mean,
that
at least it.
yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. No, no,
No,
no.
I was just gonna say, at least it's not the quid pro quo. It seemed to be like, it seemed like when he dropped out, whoever talked to him, a lot of people suspect Obama spoke to him. Um, it seemed like there might have been some quid pro quo that he would get a better role, but transportation secretary is kind of a middle of the road appointment, which is, it's weird because he's not necessarily qualified for it, but
Yeah,
he has a interest in those things. So I can't knock that. He was a mayor in a local town, and I'll read a little bit later, but he did at least pay attention to transportation.
yeah,
So I kind of get this as like, all right, you did me a favor. You got out of the way,
yep, yep,
but it's not, I'm not going to give you some crazy. You still young. You're still a baby in this administration.
yep, 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 yep. Yeah, he's I don't know, man. I respect a lot of things that he symbolizes as a politician, but like I don't know, man. Like there's just too many fake ones out there, and like he's lumped in that same category in my mind, and I don't know. I'm just happy there's Democrats now going to be running the show at the end of the day versus Republicans at the end of the day. So I'll live with it for now. It might be corporate Democrats, but it is what it is. It is what it is.
Yeah, and I think it's good to put in this quote that Biden put in, just to get an idea of where they're coming from. And I think this is a return to normalcy in their viewpoint, which is returning to an Obama era type of administration. So I understand where they're coming from, at least.
Yeah,
But just to say what Biden quoted as saying in the I believe it's an AP article. I am nominating him for Secretary of Transportation because this position stands as the nexus of many of the interlocking challenges and opportunities ahead for us. Jobs, infrastructure, equity, and climate all come together at the DOT, the site of some of the most ambitious plans to build back better. So he's basically using him as the front man for any kind of uh, infrastructure plan that he has for the country, which isn't a bad look. He's also, it is very important that he will be the first openly gay or LGBTQ individual in the cabinet that we know. So that's it's an amazing thing. And this is the same thing with Harris, right? You know,
First
her just being the
first black.
yeah,
Yeah,
being the
yeah.
first black,
Hmm.
that matters. I hate to say it. I think that policy will matter over any of those factors, but it is important that it happens. You know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a great thing, you know what I mean? Seeing these big changes, politically, like race related, sexuality related things being more allowed uh in the public eye. Like, I mean, I'm not public eye, but you know what I mean, like in the cabinet and everything else. It's historic. That's the word I was looking for. It's like a historic thing.
Yeah.
It's not talked about enough,
Yeah.
but it is historic. Um, You know.
And then I'm gonna throw in the one wet blanket into all of this. So this is a mixed messaged kind of article that I found because I think there's a little bit of elitism that's related to this. But shortly after being elected mayor in 2012, he set up transforming the South Bend's downtown area, which South Bend is where he was the mayor of, downtown through an initiative named Smart Streets, aimed at reducing traffic, adding bike lanes, and making certain areas more pedestrian friendly. After years of political resistance, the investment in infrastructure ignited a revival of the downtown area. Now, a lot of people would call that gentrification. Wow, that's loud out there. I don't know if you can hear that.
A little bit, not much. It's okay.
It's something cleaning the streets. That's what it is.
Mm,
They're putting down salt right outside. That's why.
mm.
Um, sorry about that. Everybody was like, is there a plane flying right over my head?
Yeah, I barely heard it. To be honest, I don't think anybody really heard too much about it, but it's good. We're good.
So, do you have any other thoughts about Pete Buttigieg before we move on to some of the other candidates?
Um, Not much. Like time will tell. Basically, how he does his job. You know what I mean? Like I know he's had like issues. In the past. Politically, that people didn't really like some of the stuff that he did. What was it? There was a case related to him, right? What was that? I'm
Yes, there was the let me actually get to it in the article because they actually said it pretty well.
yeah,
It's a criticism of him in South Bend
yeah,
and this is one of the things where it's like he might not be qualified in a way because his infrastructure is great, but it has nothing to do with he falls out as a for black people, like as an African American, he did very poorly in the South
yeah,
Carolina
yeah.
primaries because of a case. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to roll to the case because I would like to say it properly.
Yeah, I didn't want to like talk. I knew about the case, but I don't remember all the specifics, so I didn't want to talk about it. But I remember hearing a bunch of stuff during the primaries about it, and go ahead.
Just making sure that I get all the right stories.
I think there was something. Wasn't there like a? I
You
think
know
there was
what?
a
It's so
murder, right?
interesting today.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a killing of someone, and he basically said it. She ran across the street, and he basically said that it was the fault of her for bolting across the street.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, it's kind of a odd story, and also he has issues just with the South Bend police and
Hmm.
allowing for we would call it a murder, but at least a homicide of some sort occurred,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
He kind of said
the
he was.
police pretty much are getting it.
I think he said something about he was gonna look into it and never did, or something like that. I heard some story about.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, that's crazy. But everything's crazy, right? That's one of my favorite words. I'm starting to notice. I'm like, that's crazy. But yeah, Buttigieg,
Yeah, I
like
mean they
time will
call it
tell.
a policing crisis. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
and they called it a police crisis. Like a lot of the way that they talk about this is that he just basically didn't respond very well to South Bend's crisis with the police. So that is a great critique of him. I think that that's valid. I think that he literally was put in a role where it didn't matter. They
Yeah.
made sure to put him in a space that would only come up as a tangential problem.
Yeah.
Um, I just hope that I hope that there's an actual infrastructure plan. I think
You think
that's
it,
more relevant,
you
right?
think he's gonna run against Harris when because they say that Biden might be just a four-year term or whatever.
Oh, he's definitely not going to run twice.
I'm sorry. Like I don't know.
He's definitely
Sound like you're breaking up a little bit. I don't know if it's. Let me see if it's something with the settings over here. I don't want to. Let me see.
no
You
problem.
know,
Just let me know. Let me see.
do you have an like? I don't mean to like stop what we're talking, but do you have like any processing going on your voice? Because I don't have any on my end. It just sounds
No,
like you.
not right now. I don't.
That's weird. It just seems like it drops out a little. Let me see what happens down the line. I'm sorry about that. But
It's
what was I
okay.
gonna say? So yeah, like it says a lot about a person when they don't, look into things like that. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully he's not flaky when it comes to his position now. You know what I mean? Hopefully, I don't know if, like you said, it's probably like kind of I wouldn't say a minor position, but it's one of those that's not going to be like looked upon, but so much. You know what I mean? So like the attention won't be on him. I don't think that often.
Yeah,
So we'll see what happens.
he's just going to gain some clout from it. That's all that's going to happen. He's just going to gain a little bit of clout from all of this.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And you said you don't think he's going to go up against Harris, or no?
I see. That's what I was contemplating it. I'm saying that I know for a fact that Biden will not run again. So it's possible, but it wouldn't be the most prudent move as of now. If
Yeah,
you ask me in a year and the Harris Biden they haven't been able to do anything, and for some reason he's going to leave in a year or something like that, then he'll definitely run
yeah,
against Harris.
yeah, yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
So just to name the other people who were at least are being put up for the roles, some of them, if you're a secretary, for instance, you have to be confirmed by the Senate, and if it's just an advisor or a czar, it can be an executive choice. So Jennifer Granholm, the former Michigan governor, is going to be up for the energy secretary.
Mm-hmm.
She served two terms as Michigan's governor and defeated the husband of U.S. Education Secretary Betsy DeVos to win her second term. In November, she penned an op-ed for the Detroit News coming for the Michigan's auto industry to invest in low carbon economies. So I love how they say low carbon economies. They're basically saying we need to do our entire recovery with new materials and that we need to go with basically she did a TED talk too talking about alternate energy futures.
Mm.
So she's economically at least focused on alternative energies. So that's a positive. You can say it didn't work before, but at least that's her attempt to get alternative energies. Also, Gina McCarthy is going to be who is the former EPA chief as the White House climate coordinator. That's an executive position, so she doesn't have to be confirmed. This is actually a great one. Gina McCarthy is probably the best choice that we've gotten so far. Maybe you wouldn't call her progressive, but she's at least a left greenie kind of person.
Mm.
She was the former Environmental Protection Agency chief, and she's basically going to be with John Kerry doing these kind of envoys to get climate change problems talked about again.
A
I mean,
little.
we kind of lost that, right?
How do you feel about Carrie though? Like that's somebody to actually another person to like consider, like because a lot of people feel like he's kind of like out of touch a little bit with things. I don't know. I've heard stories of people telling me that because of the amount of money that he's worth and everything else, that he might not be necessarily the best person for the job. But that's criticizing somebody because of their pockets. I don't want to always do that with people, but to some degree with some people that does affect things. When you have like what his wife is the Heinz, one of the owners of Heinz or something like that. Yeah.
She's an
So
heir of the Heinz
oh, the
company.
air. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. So how do you feel about Kerry? Like, and do you think that he's going to do his job well, or how do you feel about
So
it?
he has some international clout. Like so internationally, they respect him enough that I think it could be helpful. Um, Internationally, we need to just get back on the stage and say
Mm-hmm.
that we care about these problems. We weren't paying attention to that at all for the last 8 years.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, well,
And I know I added in an extra 4 years, but I think that it's actually one of the problems with the Obama administration is that they entered an accord, for instance, with the Paris Accord, and then said it was non-binding. Like we
yeah.
need to be into a position where we're saying we're having binding agreements about climate change and about oil usage and about natural gas, and we're not at a point where we're talking about it in that fashion. We're still saying what half measure can we put in? I believe at least McCarthy believes in going full on and changing the way that we deal with energy and manufacturing.
Mm.
So, yay, one positive one for the team.
Yeah, yeah. Like some of the stuff seems like that Biden's doing seems a little, I wouldn't say progressive, but a little progressive, more than what I would have expected from him. But we'll see. You know, time will tell. You know, like some of these people are put in positions where they're not going to be able to do but so much if Biden doesn't, allow it to happen. So let's see what happens. I guess time will tell, and we'll be back here in like a year from now talking about how good or bad like somebody's doing their job or whatever. But like I said,
Exactly.
anything's better than Trump. Anything's better than Trump and his cabinet right now, right? Like his cabinet is controversy. Like he's fired, like he fired Barr supposedly I heard, and then like or got rid of Barr, and now he fired somebody else right afterwards that was there to replace Barr. Like they're losing their mind, man. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
that's an interesting story. If you know a little bit more about that, that is, I didn't get the chance to research that one, but I knew that she just like fired the AG that's supposed to come in right after him,
Yep.
and
Yep.
for no reason. Come on, it's a month.
Yep.
Like at this point, give it up.
Yep, he's flipping on anybody that said anything against his whole election fraud thing, the debacle or whatever he's starting or whatever. And if you're against him, he hates you. It's pretty funny. It's entertaining to watch. I just hope he gets out of office soon, man. I hope it doesn't, go into January and have other problems in January because I'm done with it already. I want Biden in already and this to be behind us as much as possible. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, I mean, this is the long road because the last one that was up this week at least was Tom Vilsack for his former agriculture secretary job for the USDA. So
Mm,
as an agricultural secretary, you end up doing a lot of okay, I need to just read this one because this is a long one for Tim Vilsack. He's a complicated figure. According to the people familiar with the discussion, turning to longtime allies over several more diverse candidates who have been jockeying for the role. Other people could have been up for this position, but instead they've decided to go with a much safer choice, a choice that, it's an Obama administration person. So you kind of have an idea of where he's going to be.
mm-hmm.
Uh, Vilsack, when spoken to, commented at the Biden rally that he was nominating Vilsack for the position by pledging to immediately tackle racial issues within the USDA, to continue the important work of rooting out inequities and systemic racism in the system that we govern and programs that we lead. So there are issues with Black farmers, for instance, that were been shut out. There have been issues of just pay to migrant workers, etc. So I believe that after years of his issues in the past, they're trying to focus on that and trying to focus that he can be a better person. There was great commentary that farmers find themselves in the situation in large part due to failures of processors to adapt to the changing consumer habits that the coronavirus pandemic created. The USDA's response was to launch Farmers to Families Food Box program.
I
So,
don't know what
yeah.
just happened. Sorry,
So I'm going to
cut
just
you
repeat
off.
that real quick. No, it's
Yeah,
all right.
please.
I'm just going to repeat. So farmers find themselves in the situation in large parts due to the failure of processors to adapt to the changing consumer habits to the coronavirus predicted. So the USDA's response was to launch Farmers to Families Food Box. So basically, they're saying that this is just a band-aid over the situation until we have a way to go back into the fields. But it's a middle plan. I don't know. Like this is not going to help us over the next 4 years. It's only going to help us through this next year.
Yeah.
So it's a decent candidate. It's at least somebody that we kind of know. It's a devil that we know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's typical, right? Like he's just basically bringing back all the Obama type politicians. I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world, though. At least they're competent, right? At the end of the day, like I'd rather have somebody competent, maybe not with the best intentions, but at least they're competent at what they do. You know, I think with Trump, there was a lot of people that he just pulled out for his shenanigans. Like brought in so that he could manipulate the system, and that they'll just basically listen to what he has to say. I mean, I guess this would happen also with Biden. These people would listen to Biden as well, but at least their input would actually have some make sense. You know what I mean? Hopefully benefit us better than the Obama stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Like this is all new to me. Some of these people that I'm hearing about. Um, but I don't know.
Like
What do you think?
Fudge and all of that. I just honestly I believe that he's going with a middle of the ground, but good. I mean, he has not invested in old white people. He's basically invested in a lot of the neoliberal and liberal women and people, minority candidates, which is kind of a good thing. I'm just gonna take that as a positive as is because at least it's not only bankers, and that was my major concern. Is that well, we'll see with Rahm Emanuel. If Rahm Emanuel gets picked, then I'm gonna have an issue.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
that's when I really will chop the bar, which I believe will be next Tuesday. They seem to be dropping it every Tuesday.
yeah. I'm not a big fan of Rom either. I don't understand. Like you would think that you would want as little controversy as possible to make everybody happy. He's not going to be able to do much if we don't get the Senate. So he's got to do whatever else he can, as perfect as he can. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's going to be a tough road for Biden, I think, regarding all that stuff. But what are we going to do, right? A lot of this is wait and see what happens, right? Like we're transitioning out of what Trump was like, which was like an everyday, chaotic like mess every day. Something new. You look at the news. Oh, he said this, did that, or he fired this person, or whatever. At least now there'll be some stability, and then we can actually focus on some of the stuff. There's a lot of things now. Infighting within the Republican Party, and there's some controversies now with the progressive and the Democratic Party. The progressive side and the more center, moderate.
Just center left, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's going to be interesting the next couple of months coming up. A lot of stories to talk about, I think. But we'll see what happens, man. Hopefully it's just not too much of the same old with the policing and everything else. I hope that they actually start making changes that are going to be beneficial to the public. There's some talks about the stimulus and stuff that's coming up. So I'm hoping that'll change. They said Bernie's got some people talking about putting some money into the stimulus. But that's all talk. Talk is cheap, right? At the end of the day, they've been
Mean, what they
talking.
did is they knocked it down. They knocked it down to $500 for this for personal. The rest of it is just going to go to business, which is a
Yeah,
little bit scary to me. That
yeah,
the next thing they're going to do is just give businesses as much money as possible to keep them alive, while not keeping the people alive.
yeah, yeah. So
I just know how much that's going to be if we don't get any more than $500. We're still going to be in the same trouble 1 month from now. It's going to
five
be the
hundred
same thing 1 month from now.
$500 is a joke. I'm sorry. Like that's spent in like a couple days. Like if you have a big family, that's food shopping right there. You know what I mean? Like within that's like a maybe a week or two of food. You know what I mean? In some cases, depending upon where you live. If you live in a affordable area, that's one thing. But people they said something. The average household that's been suffering. I don't know if they said average, but I know that they said that they're gonna owe up to like $5,000 with
Yes.
mortgage and all that stuff. So that's crazy. Like, what the hell's $500 gonna do for that $5,000? You know what I mean? Well, you still need another 4,500. You know, and that's crazy. I don't know. Just I'm hoping that opportunities start reopening now that the vaccine and other stuff happens, and maybe they'll give some like forbearance or whatever, something that they could push things down the line for people so that they could start, paying it off. It'd be nice if some of these banks would loan people money, interest free loans or something, but if it's not government backed, they have no reason to do it, right? So I don't know. That's
Yes.
it's the end of the day. Like,
Yeah.
sorry, go homeless, and then the violence and everything's gonna go up. With people struggling. What do they do? They said something about the those are called the people are now shoplifting more. I heard stories about people shoplifting for food.
Yeah, there's a higher shoplifting rate for baby food,
Yeah, yeah,
which is very specific that it's, I mean, it makes sense to me, but for other people, it will not make sense that they have gone after items for your kids, stuff like that, things that you can shoplift.
yeah. I just
It's a
hope Biden
product of the
does.
scenario. I also,
Yeah, I just
yeah, go
hope
ahead.
Biden. I hope Biden and his administration take all that into account. Like I haven't heard anything about them giving Bernie a significant role yet. I don't know if you've heard anything, but I haven't heard anything. So that's kind of like a smack in the
Oh,
face.
he's
Like,
better in the Senate. Like they're not gonna. That I'm not sure you're gonna get another progressive in the Senate right now.
yeah,
So I think, and honestly, that's like giving your competitor a significant role in your office when they will probably disagree with you often.
yeah,
And I don't see that as a thing that Biden will do. Biden is not has no problem with taking in some information from other people, but he doesn't want to be combated the whole time, and
yeah,
that'll
yeah.
happen with Sanders.
It's like, come on, man, do your thing. You're
Yeah.
letting the people starve. Oh man, it's horrible, man. I wish Bernie won.
So you want to?
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I think a lot of people do, but also it's interesting to me when I read a lot of this Twitter and everything else. There are so many contrary views about Sanders and the whole socialist. There is really a rift in the Democratic Party
Hmm.
where people are afraid of left farther left ideas, even
Hmm.
though most of them fall into the bracket of being helped by them.
Yep.
Um,
It's funny. You even hear
yeah, I
like we said Republicans talking about, oh, we need this, we need that. A lot of socialist like type of things, and I look at it and I'm like, man, the talk is there, and you know that people want this stuff, but nobody wants to pay for it. The Democrats and the Republicans don't want to pay for it, but the progressives know it, and all the people in the public, want it. You can see it by the polls and everything else, which is it's pretty crazy. It's just crazy, but whatever.
yeah.
It is. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, I talking about these cabinet picks was more of like a necessity more than it is interesting. It's like
yeah,
that dry, it's that unsexy story. So
yeah,
I just wanted to do that first because it's hard. We're being critical of people that we well, some of them you can be critical of because they did the same role before for Obama. They literally are being rehired, but their progress now could be higher, and we got to give them at least a couple months to try to put some plans out and to see what they actually are about.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm gonna try to have faith. My mom tells me I should try to have faith, right? We'll see.
Know that feeling.
Yeah, 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 yeah. What's the next
But you know
topic?
what breaks our faith? Do you want to
What?
hear about espionage? Yes.
It's
It's like
all
what breaks
over.
our faith is China is suspected of spying on Americans via their Caribbean phone networks, which woof. This is an interesting story because this actually goes into what could happen in the US too. Security experts claim Chinese surveillance may have affected tens of thousands of Americans. He added, no one in the industry wants to bring this public to know the severity of the ongoing surveillance attacks. I want the public to know about it, which was Miller, who's I'll talk about a little bit more in a second.
Mhm.
China appears to have used mobile phone networks in the Caribbean to surveil U.S. mobile phone subscribers as part of its espionage campaign against Americans, according to a mobile network security expert, Miller. The alleged attacks appear to be enabling China to target, track, and intercept phone communications of U.S. phone subscribers, according to research and analysis by Gary Miller. The findings paint an alarming picture of how China has allegedly exploited decades old vulnerabilities in the global telecommunications networks to route active surveillance attacks through telecoms operators. So the way that they're doing this is that they're using signaling messaging as their which are commands that are sent by telecoms operators across the global network unbeknownst to a mobile phone's user. So this is happening with your phone pretty much all the time. When you're doing roaming, when you're doing anything like that, they can ping your phone basically. I guess when you watch a show, they call it pinging your phone.
Mhm.
Um, it's the idea that it can constantly send out information back and forth, and they're saying that they can drop these signalings through batch networks that were in the Caribbean, specifically the Bahamas. Uh, they allow operators to locate mobile phones, connect mobile phone users to one another, and assess roaming charges. But some signaling messages can be used for illegitimate purposes as tracking, monitoring, or intercepting communications. So I know that that's the kind of device that they dropped on this snitch that Takashi 69 had. So I know for a fact this is the kind of thing that could happen in America when you. It's right now we should be more interested in the fact that China is doing it, but these are like this happens every day. Um, it's that easy to get into your phone. It's
But
that
what?
easy to get into. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying, what is the actual benefit? Like, they're just trying to get information, like credit card stuff. Like, I don't, I still don't, I don't fully understand like what the benefit. I understand the monitoring aspect, but I don't really see like I don't get like how it really would affect the average person in regards to things. Like, are they just trying to like steal your information for from crooked ways of making money? Like, I don't fully understand like
So that's the one thing that doesn't make any sense, and they haven't concluded. They concluded two things. They concluded that most likely it was a batch attack to find as much information as possible about people, but it's not directed towards individuals. Like it's not
mm,
looking for specific people and trying to find their information. So it's espionage trying to just find what our patterns are. It was interesting because it ran through China Unicom, which is a state sponsored it's a
sorry.
state sponsored telecom operator. That's all right. So China
Mm,
Unicom is a state owned telecom operator, and it might just be getting our information to legitimately find out where we are. Like are people talking about one topic a lot? It could be stupid. It could be that dumb, or it could be how can we connect to your phone and can it work? Can we intercept your phone by just doing this? And then you do a test run.
yeah,
You got to do a large form test run. You can't just like roll out a whole signaling campaign and then get caught by the government.
yeah. Maybe it's also like they talk about people's properties, intellectual properties. Maybe they're using it to
Yes.
find out information regarding like, oh, we could make this or do this, by utilizing this. You know what I mean? Like listening to not necessarily conversations, but like things that would be relevant for them to be able to steal people's intellectual property somehow. It's interesting, man. I like technology is moving so fast, and like the people that really know how to use it, to do stuff like this, it's kind of intimidating because you never really fully understand the reasoning behind some of this stuff. Like, like shutting down. If they could do this, maybe they're doing it so that maybe they could do a denial of service type of thing. You know what I mean?
Attack.
Where people
Yes.
can't like get on the phone or whatever if there's an emergency. If there was like, let's say they had an assault somewhere or whatever, they bomb something or do something crazy somewhere. You know, who the hell knows, man? It's pretty scary. Like it's just so much going on, and at least they caught it. Like at least there's a way of them, the United States, that tracked it. At least, a little too
But
late,
it
but
wasn't the U.S. It was actually a independent contractor, security
Oh,
contractor who's
okay.
is so maybe the US knows because that contractor and that company told them.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
basically it's not the government at this point. It's a lot of independent contractors.
Yeah, and that's also in my mind, a danger as well, because you got all these people, like it's like subcontractors doing all these different things. You know what I mean? That they're in people's business, and you don't know what their intentions are either. It's like they could, for like 10 years, act like, oh yeah, we're your best friend, and then that 11th year, that's when they do something crazy. Like the long waiting game. Is look at China. China start. I mean, I don't personally have anything against China or any other country, because you know it, our beliefs are based on what our government is telling us. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, look what they said with Iran and everything. I'm not saying that Iran is a perfect country, because I'm not. I don't know enough about it. But like when Trump did they had that back and forth, like incidents where they were bombing and fighting or whatever. They refrained from fighting us, and you would think that sorry, you would think that Iran would, with all the bad talk that we've had about them, that they would have wanted to start a war back and do all this other crazy stuff, but they didn't. They refrained from attacking us again. So it's I don't know what to believe when it comes to government. All I do know is that at the end of the day, we're just like the people in the middle of all these people playing stupid war games and information, what's the word, stealing information from each other.
Espionage.
Yeah, espionage. Right. So
Espionage.
yeah, so it is what it is, man. I hope the technology helps people in the future, but I don't trust like what our country says about other countries anymore. I don't trust what they say about their, because they're all, each country is going to say whatever is beneficial for their people to believe that, well, we're the best, we're the ones that are right in this situation, and so on and so forth. Like I'm sure Kim Jong Un like does the same thing. Oh, America is this and blah 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 blah. But they do all these nuclear testing, which to me is crazy. But maybe in certain things, I don't know. I don't know what's going on over there. I'm only hearing what our country tells us and what other people that may have visited in that area have told people. And I don't know if it's trustworthy or not, but it is what it is. But
I mean, that is the one positive about a Biden administration is that we'll probably get back to the sanity of us talking with other countries in what we see as a normal fashion.
yeah,
Like we won't cater to North Korea. I know
yeah,
that. And I don't think we should after we placated to them for 4 years, which was weird. It was a weird thing to have Trump say that he fell in love with Kim Jong Un.
mm,
Weird just to hear him like applaud all of these, I guess, your Bolsonaros, your what's the uh, guy who
Putin.
runs the Philippines?
Uh,
No,
um,
Putin too.
uh,
Putin too.
yeah, yeah. What's his face? It
I can see
starts with
his.
a,
I can see his.
it starts with a. Does it start with a M? Oh man, well, it's not Bolsonaro. Who's the other?
Oh, you're thinking of Modi too, which is another person. There's another
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Like, I mean, and Modi is an interesting character because he's just trying to bring in a little bit of corporatism into India, and I
Yeah.
think that I understand what his goal is. So I'm less offended by what he's doing, and I can acknowledge that that's a different country. They
Yeah,
have a different history to deal with.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, it's scary. Who do you trust, right? At the end of the day, it's like there's so much power and money and people with their own shenanigans that they're pulling behind the scenes. You know what I mean? Like it's hard for us to really you know grasp what's actually really happening and why they're doing. Over time you get to see what's developing into. But if they're doing things and it's like when Trump was, well, he still is, but while he was president, he was doing a lot of random things that made no sense. You know what I mean? Like, why is he doing this? Why is he doing that? Like, even now, like with the election stuff and everything, it's like, is he still planning on something crazy? With all the Proud Boys stuff that's going on, and it's just, I don't know, man. It's scary. It's scary times, but whatever. Like we still got to move forward and hope that there's some level-headed people that are in the background playing a role that's going to actually prevent some of the chaos from getting even worse. So we'll see what happens. It is what it
Hmm.
is. So but I mean, whatever you.
Oh no, that's it. There's not much to talk about here. It's more just to inform people that it. If you look at here, they tell you that it's the most cases in 2018 when they found the surveillance. The cases were heaviest in 3 and 4G networks. So it's pretty much. I think the DOS attack that you're talking about is literally the what you need to worry about.
Yeah,
Denial of service all at once.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
probably what they're aiming for, less than tracking us, because that wouldn't do them any good unless we're in a war situation. So that's just my
yeah.
personal belief. I just
Was
think
it?
it's important to note that it's occurring.
Were they Huawei phones? Because that's what they're always talking about. Do you know? Like, did they say anything? I don't see anything in the article basically
No,
saying
so
anything.
what they actually did is that they used these networks from Bahamas and from Barbados, correct? Yeah, Barbados. So they were just sending the signaling through that. It's like kind of a way to patch through. So
Mm,
it'll go to your phone, and who knows, maybe some of those weird calls. I get spam calls pretty frequently now. Some of those scams and like them hanging up could just be that, like
mm,
them just pinging your phone to find a signal and seeing, it's not going to be useful most likely, but it's just a way of testing out the system. In my opinion, they're testing out their ability to do so. I'm not going to even say it's nefarious yet. It's
yeah.
just illegal.
Yep. 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 Yeah. It's interesting. Definitely interesting. So, you
So
know,
let's move to white oil.
mm, what is that, sir?
I think white yes,
I'm just
white
kidding.
oil is interesting. No, but I mean, the race is on to find a steady source of lithium, a key component in rechargeable electric car batteries. The European Union focuses on emissions right now, and the lithium gold rush threatens the environmental damage on an industrial scale. Lithium is a key active material in the rechargeable batteries that run electric cars, as well as being on the cases of your phone. It's the lightest metal there is, so lithium is right now one of the most valuable minerals that's out there. It is found in rock and clay deposits as a solid mineral, as well as dissolved in brine, as you can see on there on the screen. So that it's so. Oh, I wish we could play the whole segment that PBS has out, and I'll make sure to attach it at the end of the for the clip. But in this PBS article, it's pretty long. If you look back, go back one.
This one or the
So if
other
you even
article?
breathe,
This one or
yeah, no,
this
no,
one?
you
This one.
you just had it. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That one, yeah. If you even breathe on that, you can't use it. That's how
Wow.
sensitive that material is. So
Wow.
they do a good job. So that's why it's a really long PBS thing. So I'll make sure to attach that at the end for everybody to watch. Um, lithium. Sorry, I was going to say the urgency is getting lithium. A lithium supply has unleashed a mining boom, and the race for white oil threatens to cause damage to the natural environment. But because they're helping to drive down emissions, the mining companies have EU environmental policies on their side right now. So basically, they're saying, "Hey, the EU needs that lithium from you guys. We're going to allow another mining boom. It doesn't matter if you're going to destroy the planet." Um, you want to throw to the next video?
Are you with this one? This is the one you want, or the
No,
the
the
one
next
that's
one.
hold on
I
a
should have
second.
the number. I had the
Let's
number. Oh, I lost it. That's fine.
let me see what I have
VC
because I
one.
PC one. Gotcha.
Yeah, number one. Yeah.
Wasn't sure if you wanted the other thing.
We're standing on some lithium now, right?
It's there. You just can't really tell it on the surface. It's just a lot of red clay and dirt.
It's not gold in them thar hills, but Lamont Leatherman is convinced it's as good as it. We're in the Piedmont region of North Carolina, between Charlotte and the Appalachian Mountains. It was February 2020, before the shutdown and the COVID precautions. Leatherman was laying the underground work for a lithium mine.
This is the spodumene, this greenish gray mineral here.
Spodumene. The mineral is an important source of lithium, the lightest metal on Earth. It's all over the place here, and Leatherman's company, Piedmont Lithium, has the cores to prove it.
There's a real nice crystal. You can see it's quite coarse.
The crystals in these cores are powering a revolution in electrification that began in 1991 when Sony rolled out the first consumer product powered by lithium-ion batteries, a camcorder. It's easy to forget what life was like before these light, energy-dense batteries existed. Albemarle headquarters sits near the site of one of the earliest lithium mines, Kings Mountain, only 10 miles from where we met Lamont Leatherman. The quarry is closed. Albemarle now mines lithium rock in Australia and separates it from salty water in giant evaporation ponds in Nevada and Chile. Mining lithium at the old quarry is more expensive, but
So there you go. Even more expensive, just because it always will fall to that corporate need. And I was going to say there's one weird positive. We're not mining in Africa this time.
You know what's crazy?
I mean, it's bad.
What's crazy is like, okay, fine, they're not a lot. They don't want to have like oil based vehicles or whatever, you know, like fossil fuel vehicles or whatever it is, which, you know, pollutes the air and also damages the ground. So they're like, all right, we'll just damage the ground or whatever, and still put like toxic stuff and have dangerous environments, and you know, so some of it is beneficial, but you know, the rest of it is you know, still like they don't talk about the negatives about it. You know, it's I don't know. How do you feel about it? Would you rather have lithium than fossil fuels, or like how do you feel about the whole?
Yes, the net emissions change is huge, but it means that we need to do that. We quote unquote have to allow more mining, which is not I would not be for that. It's just that it's going to happen. Like, I don't see it changing. Like, me not buying a phone is not going to stop them from mining for lithium right now. That's why it's white oil. You know, it's literally, you know, black tar oil was just so profitable that, you know, we think of it as one of those profit raining kind of materials. I don't know. I'm just glad. I was going to say that it's important that more than 55% of global lithium production last year originated in just one country, Australia. Other principal suppliers such as Chile, China, and Argentina are equally far-flung. So that's why they were doing all of that refining in Nevada, but that must use a ton of water. So that's a problem. You know, when you're refining something like that, you end up using a ton of water or a ton of another mineral to get your needs. And it is what it is. We're not going to, you know, we have phones. We all have phones. We all have devices. Most of our screens even have lithium in them. So
they don't incentivize people holding things longer either. You know that every
yes.
like couple of months there's a new phone, which is crazy. You know, and it's funny, they'll say they'll recycle stuff and they don't. A lot of times they're like, oh, you know, trade this in and blah 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 blah, and then you'll find out later that they just disposed of it, or they just took like a little something out of it. They don't really, at the end of the day, like strip the boards of their components. They don't strip the batteries, and some, I guess in some cases they do, but not as often as people think they do, and so that still pollutes the world. So they just happen to last longer than, you know, burning constant oil and gasoline and everything, which is, you know, I guess more, you know, more of a detrimental to the environment at the end of the day. But you know, it's pretty crazy, man. I'm the crazy man. Crazy.
Uh,
You're saying? What's up?
so we should go to the second video because that talks directly to what you were talking about. It goes directly to the fact that we have to be able to recycle these batteries in some fashion. They're not batteries. Recycle the lithium itself,
Yeah.
or yeah.
Here we go. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
But will there be enough lithium to fuel a new electrified era?
So if you ask the question, is there enough lithium in the world for 50% of the cars in the world to become electric? The answer is, maybe surprisingly, no. There isn't, unless you recycle.
Unlike lead-acid batteries, there is no practical way to recycle those made of lithium. Here at Argonne, they are working on that problem as well. As demand for electric vehicles rises, so will the need for a recycling solution.
So there we go. That's the big. And by the way, thank you to PBS. That was a great segment, and I'm going to make sure to include that below. That's the problem. You cannot easily recycle this material, and we use it now so extensively that we need to figure out how we can change that. There's no other way to survive. Like it's just another limited resource at that point.
Yep. I was watching a show about like the right to repair, and he talks about a lot of what we just finished saying. Like, like they don't want people to repair this stuff, like the mom and pop stuff, stores or whatever it is. So what happens to all that material? It's like they just let it go to waste, and this is yet another example of it. If it's not electrical components, it's like batteries and stuff. So it's crazy, man. Like a lot of people, unless you're like really in the loop of things, you don't really know that this is happening. You think, oh, this is great. Same thing with plastics and everything else. They think that if we just recycle, it's gonna be great. But at the end of the day, like I think there's like a certain limit of how many times you can recycle something, and like there's a lot of things that they don't talk about, and yet people just keep consuming. They just keep buying things, and and these phones could last for many many years. But then you got the people making the phone saying, well, like for instance, Apple, they're like they design these things so that later on when they start putting in new chips and whatever else, the other stuff can't run anymore. They'll do something in the BIOS. Microsoft doesn't do it, but with Apple, they do something with the BIOS that when you have a new device, well, if you have an old device, let's say they upgrade it to Catalina or whatever the newest Big Sur or whatever they call it, the older devices won't work because when you put the OS in. I think we've talked about this at one point. I don't know if I spoke to you about this, but I think we did on another episode. What'll end up happening is it'll update the BIOS, and it'll make the software aware whether or not the hardware is old, and then it won't work. Like I have a Mac downstairs that it works, but it doesn't update. So because it doesn't update, I can't add the newer software and the newer updates for those softwares and so on and so forth. So basically it's a brick right now. There's only certain things I could do, like go on the internet and word processing and stuff. But if I wanted to like get something for video editing or whatever, I got to use whatever I have there, and I can't update it anymore. I'm stuck with whatever old technology it is, and I'm forced to upgrade. And then when I have to get rid of it, what happens to that material? They're not gonna fully recycle every component that's in there, right? So that's waste. It's crazy.
I mean, there's a lot of waste when it comes to computers. I know there's significant stuff like that. I still have items in my room that probably have lithium in them that I have no way to go and actually go recycle that technology and material, because you'd probably have to go strip out the whole thing, and that's more money. It has to deal with like hiring people then to strip materials and to have that technology. And so that's like a large topic. Like we should talk more about recycling and usefulness and how to do it in the future, because we need to think about composting and recycling as a people, and not just as individual households can kind of do it, but we don't live in a society that makes it potentially easy for you to just do that. If you're in an apartment building, you're in a random area that doesn't have all of the facilities that you need, or you don't have a car, you have technology that you need to throw away. You end up just dumping it because you're not near a center that could take all your technology and recycle it, or materials like cloth materials that could be used somewhere else, and that just ends up in the dumpster. And that's we should have a long topic about recycling.
And even
sometime.
you should also recycling and manufacturing go hand in hand. when it comes to waste.
Mhm.
They talk about when you make jeans and other things, there's so much waste after producing that stuff. I was also going to say we should also talk, and when we do talk about recycling and maybe even a little bit about how they manufacture some of this stuff, we should talk about how they exploit other countries. Uh, so like how you were saying about how they strip some of the materials apart. They'll send stuff on barge, not barges, but ships to different countries so they could strip the lithium and certain things off of it. Not the lithium, but like other materials
Nickel, actually. I was gonna say
nickel. Yeah,
that
yeah,
was a big change. Nickel. That's why it's not Africa anymore right now, because
yeah.
there's no lithium, it seems, on the African continent that you found. But
Mm,
there's tons of nickel, which we still use nickel. I know. I use a lot of NIMH batteries,
mm, mm.
so nickel's in a lot of stuff too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw a video where they were like doing all this crazy stuff and stripping batteries apart and doing like, crazy stuff to it, and I looked at it, I'm like, these people are going to have cancer at the end of the day, the way they were like stripping things apart and melting things down and doing, I was like, wow, like I got to find that article, but it was sad because everybody looked like they were poor and they look like they didn't have the proper means of actually destroying, not destroying, but like recycling and fixing the stuff or whatever it is. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh no, that's it. I'm listening. One of those moments where I'm just looking at our accounts, making sure nobody has chatted us, letting us know. I think you have that chat up. So you do you want to move to the next topic? Yeah,
Yeah, of
I think we
course.
should.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So the Minnesota board released is going to release, actually just released, Myon Burrell from a life sentence. Myon Burrell's prosecution and harsh punishment raised questions about the integrity of the criminal justice system that put him away for nearly 2 decades for the death of a young girl who was killed by a stray bullet. Burrell's request for a pardon was denied originally, but it's the first time in at least 22 years that the Minnesota correctional facilities commuted a sentence in a murder case, according to the Department of Corrections. Earlier this year, so if you actually click on that link, that's him right there being finally getting out, and there's a bunch of other pictures in there.
What's this one? Okay.
Yeah, there's a ton.
Yeah.
So if you can just see, this is him, being finally out of Stillwater, the correctional facility that he's been in there for 22 years, for unfortunately the death of this woman. And she died unfortunately from a stray bullet. And he always kept his own innocence in the killing of the 11-year-old. And there seems to be fallacies in the reports from the police. So they had a committee come in earlier this year. The Associated Press and APM reports uncovered new evidence and serious flaws in the police investigation, ultimately leading to the creation of an independent national legal panel to review the case. Like I said, Burrell has always maintained his innocence in the 2002 killing of 11-year-old Taisha Edwards. Just to make sure you know her name, Taisha Edwards. She was struck in the heart while doing homework in the dining room table with her little sister. He told Minnesota's Board of Pardons members, Governor Tim Walz and Attorney General Keith Ellison, that his heart goes out to her family. So even though he maintains his innocence, he has been a model prisoner, and he has always maintained that he did not shoot that shot. So that's just important. I know it's a caveat in a way, but I wanted to actually show more of the joy that commences from all of this. Like, it's so important to get all of these people out of jail who have not done or have been accused of doing something and have not had proper representation, because it's clear that he did not have proper representation when it came off from that investigation. And I'm just hoping that in the future we can have a society that actually wants to commit the right people to corrections facilities and not just everyone to the correction facilities. It was just easy in this case with it was very easy in this case to convict him because he was just there. So I hope that we get beyond that. I think we should play the next video, VC3, just to see the joy that was in people's hearts. Because they found evidence that the investigation was wrong. So we should
Okay.
we should follow through with that. Yeah. That's his son in that. Probably seeing him for the first time in like 18 years, except for behind bars. So that's important.
Yeah.
Mr. Burrell wants to thank the governor and the attorney general for the action they took today on his behalf. He is very happy to have the opportunity to go home to his family and start the next chapter of his life. He asks that you respect his privacy while he adjusts to life on the outside. He thanks the Creator for shielding him through his journey and thanks everyone who has supported him over the years. Thank you, and please do give him his space.
Man, that's tough, man. I can't imagine what it would be like coming out after 18 years, right? It was 18 years. Wow.
It's 22 years.
22.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's 22 years.
22. Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. 22.
Oh, I apologize. No, you were. I was right the first time. It was 2002 was the killing, so it was 18 years.
18. Oh yeah, that's what I thought I heard,
Yeah.
but I don't know. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's, man. That's tough. I know people that have been locked up for long periods of times and adjusting, to getting back and seeing things the way they are. Like what is it? 18 years ago. When did the internet start? In 2000-ish, right? So it's like the internet just started.
Which internet, right? But the internet past the AOL platform happened in around 1999. Yeah.
19, yeah. So he missed like a lot of the progress of like how technology, like it must be
Yes.
going like a million miles an hour for him. He's gonna come out here and see things that'd be like, wow, there's electric cars now, and there's this and that. I mean, it's not a big deal for electric cars. A car's a car, right? But just the technological advances from that time, and to have to be able to. I mean, maybe he has stuff that he was doing there that allowed him to keep up to date with some of this stuff, but that's wild, man. Like to spend that much of your life, that's tough, But I'm just happy he's able to be around his child now and can experience, being around his family more at this point. Did they even find a gun or anything on him when they got him, or do you know any of the details?
No,
about-
actually, some of the information of this is really sparse. It seems like there's some differences in the story, and this is why the actual council pardoned. It's not really a quote unquote pardon, it's literally commuting his sentence, because they're saying it's not that he's innocent, because a pardon is basically claiming innocence afterwards.
Mhm.
It's actually saying that your sentence is complete even though it was supposed to be a life sentence. And they're saying that there's just inconsistencies in the story, and she was shot through the wall, so it wouldn't. This is how it is from state to state, right? Some places that would not be murder, it would be a homicide, unintended homicide. But
Yeah,
we
with a
live in
child
different
involved.
places and we have different rules.
Yeah,
Yeah,
when you have a child involved
also
and all
great.
this other stuff, you people catch. I'm not saying that you shouldn't catch feelings, because I feel sad for the family, but like at the end of the day, it's like all that stuff affects like the judgment at the end of the day, right? You're gonna, like, you have a family that lost
Yeah.
a child, so they're gonna be very harsh on the person that they think did it. But the question is whether or not the person did it at the end of the day, and if they have enough evidence for what's to convict. And back then, even now, man, like they convict some people like with like absolutely no proof of the thing, you know what I mean, which is kind of scary. Like I don't ever want to be around a situation where like there was a time when I was with Teresa and we were driving up the block on Elizabeth Ave out here in Newark, and somebody had got we saw a guy pass away after he had gotten crushed by a truck, right? What ended up happening was is there was a driver, right? And this is right before another funny thing, there's a snowstorm now, right? There was a snowstorm, and what ended up happening was they were trying to move before the snowstorm started the truck, and so the owner of the company, was a factory, a small factory on Elizabeth Ave. He told the driver to move one of the trailers. So the guy went into the cab of the truck, right? And the owner was behind the truck. They didn't have like a glass divider, in the back of the truck, like a partition or whatever it is, where you could see behind him. And the guy was behind the truck, and he backed up, and the guy was between the trailer and the truck, and he ended up getting pinned in between the wheels and the trailer. Right, I wasn't there when the actual thing happened or whatever. And so the guy gets out his car, sees him. This is the information we ended up finding out after the fact, because I'll tell you when we got there, what happened. But the guy got pinned in between the truck. The driver saw it, moved the truck, and then pulled it back out. And the guy was now underneath the trailer, laying on the floor. Right. So the guy's panicking, I guess, at this point. He runs outside, and Teresa and I just finished going shopping early in the morning before we were going to take my son to school. This was super early because she was supposed to go to work, and they told her that she didn't have to come in, because she worked at a pharmacy, Rite Aid or whatever at the time, and she didn't have to do truck, which is basically bringing the stuff in for the store. And I don't mean to bring up stories too much, but it's an interesting thing because I felt like I was in an environment, and the police looked at us and they questioned us for a second, wondering why we were there and what exactly happened. And I felt like, God forbid I was in an environment trying to help something and I was the only person there. You know what I mean? It's not the same thing as a shooting. You know what I mean? I don't want to compare it to a shooting, but I felt like, like you could be put in a position where something can happen, and you might not have been there. You might have been there to help. You might have been there for whatever. And the whole story could be like, swung, around, do a 180 or whatever it is. And you could be blamed for something. But, so, the guy got, basically pinned in, and he died of internal bleeding. But when we got there, he was still alive, and he passed away. We were trying to keep him alive until the ambulance came. They took like 20 minutes or whatever it was, to get there. The police came first, and then the ambulance came, and it was already too late at that point. The guy had passed away, in front of, Teresa and I. And, and the guy was panicking, and all they were trying to do was like the right thing to help, do some work and then go home, and before the storm. And that day, Teresa and I, we didn't understand how we got there and was put in that situation. It was like a kind of shocking moment. I've seen people pass away. I've seen a guy get murdered before, and a bunch of other things happen in my life where I've seen random dead bodies and things happen. So I'm kind of like desensitized with a lot of the stuff. So I wasn't as it wasn't as traumatic for me, but for her it was kind of rough for a while. She didn't understand like how we ended up in a situation where we were just driving home, with the intentions were to go take my son to school if he had school, because it was going to snowstorm. He ended up I think he ended up staying home. Did he stay home that day? I don't even remember, but I know that because of all that stuff, we ended up picking him up early. That's what ended up happening. They took him to school, and then it started getting bad, and then we had to go pick him up from school afterwards. But either or, it's just like when you're in an environment and things like that, crazy stuff happens. Like you don't know, like who's gonna interpret what in what way, and you can get in trouble for just being there. You know what I mean? And like we were there for like 2 hours talking to them. You know what I mean? Like good 2 hours, talking to them. So it was awkward. And it's. Some of that stuff is kind of scary. Even with the shooting that we had seen out here or whatever, and the guy dying or whatever it was, the police came to our house and was, trying to get questions and information from us. And we only saw what we saw, and we told them, we're like, this is what we saw and blah, blah, blah. And, that was that, but it was like, I felt like, they want to get information so much that it's kind of intimidating sometimes. Like you don't know what direction they're gonna take it. You know, like it's like I don't want to compare it because it's not the same. You know what I mean? But
No, but
it's
there's similar. There's similar stories in there. The idea of how much I don't want to say that criminal justice reform that needs to happen. It's more like it's so easy to get caught up in a situation,
yep, yep, yep,
and that's more of what you're speaking on, is that you can get really caught up in a situation.
yep, yep, yep. And you know, like in people like him, for instance, that's horrible, man. 18 years. That's horrible. I'm sure there's plenty of people in plenty of states. I when I was younger, I think I told you the story too. I went up to what is it Washington Heights, 160 something street with a friend, and they tried to pin a gun on me. They separated us. The guy pulled a revolver and asked me to take it. You know, one of the police officers. And I was like, I'm not touching. I was a young kid. I was like, I'm not touching that. This is like I think around the Giuliani years or whatever it was. And I was like, I'm not taking it. I'm not taking it. And then like he literally talked to me for a couple of minutes and then just let us go. And to this day, I don't know what his intentions were. I don't know what was wrong with that gun. If he shot somebody or somebody he knew shot somebody, or he just wanted to pin somebody with a gun. I don't know what the hell it was, but I've been through some crazy stuff involving cops when I was younger, and it's scary, and just people in general. Like you could walk down the street and somebody could say they saw somebody that looked like you, and you can get arrested for it. You know what I mean? Like a guy, a black person or a Spanish person or whoever it is that fits your description. No, that was him. That was him. But you just came from working out at the gym or something. You know what I mean? You don't. It's crazy, man. It's scary, and I feel like I don't know if he's guilty or not, but I know that I've been in situations where it's possible that he just was at the wrong place at the wrong time, and I don't know the details of his story enough for me to say that what to believe or not to believe, but I just nowadays I
So
just
I'm gonna even throw a weird progressive angle at this. Is that
yeah,
he was a minor when it happened. He was
yeah,
17 when this happened, and let's assume guilt for an instant.
yeah,
As a model, it, since he did not shoot her intentionally,
yeah,
that would be probably a homicide too, and most likely you'd get 15 to 20 years. He was given a life sentence
yep,
for this,
yep,
so them commuting the charge seems to be the most natural occurrence that could happen. Like, it's 18 years, it's about 15 to 20 years, most likely, just assuming his guilt, not even assuming, because I assume that he was probably there. He probably wasn't the one who shot the gun, but he
yeah,
was probably around. But
yeah,
that's an assumption too.
yeah,
So, but after 18 years, yes, if you're a minor, you can't be. I don't agree with them being charged as adults without having malicious intent.
yeah. What I don't like about the whole court system thing is that they want you to plead guilty to get less time. You know what I mean? Like in certain situations, like if we have to go to court, we're gonna charge you with blah 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 blah. So it's like, okay, well, either I say I'm guilty and I spend less time in jail, because I say I'm guilty, which maybe I'm not guilty. You know what I'm saying? Versus saying, okay, I want to go to court and fight for this and get screwed, even though you might have been innocent. You know what I mean? And that's I think that whole thing needs to be reformed. Like it's not really fair. Like either it's got to be you're gonna get charged for this and that's it. You know what I mean? Either if you're guilty, you're gonna get charged X Y Z. If you're innocent, you would have been charged for X Y Z. That's it. You know what I mean? It's not if you do this, you get a lesser sentence than if you do this. You know what I mean? That's what, because I wasted your time, now I deserve more time. That's bull. You know what I mean? Like if I'm innocent, I'm gonna
But you
fight
didn't
for it.
waste their time. I'm gonna even tell you that that's part of the. I wouldn't call it a scam, but it's part of the pyramid scheme. Is that you're actually giving the police more hours, most likely. So it's not the police that are suffering.
Yeah,
It's not the lawyers that are suffering, because most likely, unless you're a public defender, which is possible, if you're a public defender, this doesn't help you. You're gonna get paid for your time. As a prosecutor, you know specifically what you're going after usually, and you have access to the police at the same time. So you already have a step up on the individual who's going to trial.
Yep.
And I think that's the hardest thing to understand, because in some ways it's an abuse of the system that you can kind of stack the jury a certain way. You kick people off the jury that, you know, might be more sympathetic pretty early on, things like that. All of that happens all at once, and you have less of ability to control that as a defense attorney. You're basically there for the ride, knowing that a lot of people will get rejected from the jury, or that you won't have discovery until after the prosecution does. Most likely all of that police discovery happened already and the prosecutor has it. It doesn't have to divulge any information until a specific point in the case. That happens quite often, and though it's not a surprise, it's just more that you're on the defensive. You're literally on the defensive all the time, right?
Yep. It's like, what do
And
you do, right? But I'm listening.
what
No,
do
I
you
was
do?
just-
You,
Yep.
you no, I mean, what do you do? I mean, you literally just keep trying to petition the system to work properly and to keep talking about criminal justice reform. I think that's the only thing that we can do. And I'm a little worried that under any of the administrations that we see so far, I don't see significant change on criminal justice reform. The AG for New York seems a little bit interested in it. Maybe individual attorney generals from different states will care about it enough to start working on it. But I mean, I'll be honest, without the Black Lives Matter movement, I think it would have fallen away. I don't think we would have thought about this right now. The executions, when we talked about the executions a couple weeks ago, now I've seen 4 articles on it that he is the most federal executions in years.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that we were like ahead of the curve, but
What do you think about
democracy now?
What do you think about Biden? You think
Oh,
Biden's gonna like stop doing that type of stuff, or do you think he's gonna follow and
Yes, I think he's going to follow in Obama's suit, where you don't federally execute anyone for that period of time. I think he doesn't have to hold a strongman position at all. Like, he doesn't have to be, I'm the strong president here. He can have a 4-year administration and just leave.
Yeah.
So I think it's with his principles to not have federal executions.
Yep.
Kamala Harris doesn't make it easy, though.
Yeah.
No, but I kid though. I'm really kidding.
You think she's gonna govern more from behind, like like in the background? Like, do you think he's gonna have more say? Do you think he's gonna allow her to? Because a lot of people are saying, "Oh no, it's not gonna be him that's doing running the show. It's gonna be her because he's too slow. He's Sleepy Joe and this, that, and what." You know what I mean? Like, you hear all these different. How do you feel about that? Do you think that Kamala's gonna have a lot of input?
I think she'll have more input than most vice presidents have. I think that might have shown in the cabinet choices being heavily minority and female. But she's the vice president. It's supposed to not matter. Vice president is supposed to be just literally the backup for the president. But that means that she'll be privy to all of the knowledge necessary. Yeah. So that's good. Honestly, I wouldn't want it any other way. And they definitely won't kill Biden now.
Do you think
this is like a terrible joke about black presidents, but
do you think yeah, right? I mean, I don't know, man, because these Trumpers are kind of crazy. I don't put it past anything. The things that I'm hearing, what's his face? The hell's that crazy? Alex Jones was talking about, we're gonna get him out no matter what. Like, he's not gonna become the president. I don't know if you saw that footage the other day of him talking all sorts of craziness. But he
that's your job. That's your job. You got to watch that crazy shit, because I literally cannot. I read all these articles and I'm like,
he was at the Proud Boys thing. Like, it was the Proud Boys thing. He was walking around in the rally talking about, either one way or another, he's not going to become president. He said something like that, and I was like, wow, this guy, that's like a literal threat. This is the same guy that said the Sandy Hook thing was staged and all that other stuff.
I know it
Like
kills us.
I don't understand how the hell he's still got a voice, but out there. But people
Grifting.
actually, people are crazy.
Grift.
They
It's
love that
pure
stuff.
grift.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't. I have like a cool down thing that might be interesting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Let
yeah.
me.
Let me. I mean, are we done with this? I don't want to like
Yeah, we're
just
good.
cut things
We're
short.
good. I think we. Yeah, it sounds good.
So did you hear
I need
about
something to cool me off.
did you hear
Go ahead.
about
Please say it again.
did you hear about this?
Oh yes.
Yeah. Yo, Teresa wanted to talk about it. She was like wasn't really fully up to coming on the show today, but she had brought this up to me, and I saw like a little bit of the footage about it. And yeah, Mario Lopez beefcake Colonel Sanders as satisfying as a KFC meal deal. That's pretty funny, right? Like you would think a southern white guy, right? And now he's like a
You
guy. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no. You definitely need to watch the trailer for that. It's
Yeah,
hilarious.
yeah,
I know we can't watch it here, but that trailer is amazing, and I'm
yeah,
all about it because it's such high cheese that I'm like, you went KFC. KFC has never cared about like doing brand promotions. They've done brand promotions with Community. They've done brand promotions on other cable channels. Now they're just like, you know what? We are funny. We're a company that knows how to be funny, so we're just gonna go all in.
yeah. I've heard stories that their chicken isn't even chicken, but I don't know if that's true or not. But how do you make fake chicken? But I wouldn't be surprised. Like I don't know, man.
They
But
probably
their
they
chicken's
just
pretty
probably
good
buy
though.
bad chicken.
Yeah, right,
Oh,
right.
I see. I don't even see. That's the thing. For the fans that don't know, I don't eat. I only eat fish and eggs. So you're gonna have to tell me how that's been. I haven't gone to a KFC in I don't know 8 years. I had wedges because they still got those potato wedges that are the
Yeah,
bomb.
they're pretty good, right? Potato
The
wedges,
bomb potato wedges.
I like the biscuits and the what is it the macaroni and cheese as well. But what was I gonna
Mm,
say the oh, and I do like coleslaw. I'm not gonna deny that too. There's a lot of stuff that they have that
yeah.
they had a fudge cake and oh yeah, I sound like a fatty, right? I sound too fat,
No,
right?
but they got the sides. But
Yeah, yeah, the sides are
especially
slamming.
when I
Yeah,
yeah, like especially when I wasn't I'm more vegan-ish now. I would say that it's called pescatarianism, but um back when I still ate cheese, that place was like I could get anything I wanted from there,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But so they don't have anything that has a fish there, but I want to just shout out Long's John Silver because it's owned by the same company. Long John
Mm-hmm.
Silver,
Yep, yep,
bring us
yep,
the
yep.
good fish sandwich.
Yep, yep, yep. This looks entertaining. I like it's crazy. I wonder how like the right wing crazy like Southern people are thinking like they're screwing up the like, like he was a white guy. He was a Southern white guy with some good chicken, and now he's got some salzone in it now. Like what are they doing to their
You
chicken?
know what? I never thought of that angle. I did not even think about the fact that Mario Lopez is. I guess just because he's a white Latino,
Mm,
I didn't even think about it. But
yep,
yeah,
yep.
they could be upset about that.
Yeah, yeah. Lopez. What the hell's Lopez, man? That's it is what it is, man. Like I don't really care.
Oh.
I just find it funny. And Teresa brought it up and she posted it on Facebook and was laughing. She's like, "What the hell is this?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's pretty funny, man." You know,
So how do you feel about brands trying to almost conform to the meme standard? Like it's a standard of like trying to make this meme level where
yeah,
everybody's gonna come on. There's nobody who's not gonna joke about this after it gets released.
yeah, yeah. It's all about attention these days, right? You try to let me cut back to ourselves. It's all about attention, right? Like everybody wants to be noticed. Like people burn themselves on TikTok, not TikTok, but like all these different like challenges that they do or whatever it is. They put themselves on
Mhm.
fire for attention, right? So I'm like, nah, I'm good, you know. So like why not these corporations? To me it's innocent fun. I don't really care. But there's
Yeah.
somebody that's so, like feeling kind of saucy right now somewhere, right? Like kind of pissed and stuff, right? Like they're like, "Rrr." You know what I mean? Like, what is this?
You're messing with my kernel. You're
He's
messing with my kernel.
he's 3 shades too dark for this. No, 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 no. Right? Like these people, you know, it's there's a lot of crazy people out there, man. They don't know, they
Yeah.
don't care. They don't understand the joke. Like I like, what is it, cancel culture, right? Like the whole cancel culture thing, like you can't say certain things anymore. Even though like if it's me and you talking by ourselves, we can say certain things and know it's a joke, right? But if God forbid I say it or do certain things on the internet, next thing you know, especially if you're a famous person or whatever else, it could end your career or whatever it is. And like this, I don't think it's going to end his career, but it might, you know, cost some chicken not to be sold, right? You know, like they might lose some people, you know,
I think KFC did the cost analysis on that already. You know, all they need to do is the cost analysis on what people will do after a good advertisement scheme and what the rush on that will be, and they'll figure out. All right, there's gonna, and also they might have learned from the Chick-fil-A model. The Chick-fil-A model was we'll just keep to our guns, and sooner or later you'll come back anyway because we got that lemonade.
Yeah. I got that lemonade and the chicken's good. I used to love Chick-fil-A. I don't like what they support, so I stopped going, period. I don't go there anymore. But I remember when I was a kid and I used to eat that food and it was it was good, man. It was really good chicken, man. They had, like, honestly, I don't know if it's the same chicken now. If it's the same quality chicken as it was back then, I'd prefer it over both Popeyes and like whatever, but at the end of the day, I'm not gonna go and support something that I don't support. You know what I mean? I'll eat a Ben and Jerry's ice cream, or I'll do like certain things that I know that people have like good intentions. I won't ever buy my pillow. There's like certain companies you'll never see me in, you know, and all you do nowadays is hear things, especially with like they say, oh, Home Depot's a Trump supporter. Like most corporations, at the end of the day, are going to support Trump because you know, like he's going to do what's going to be best for their pockets, right? So I try not to be as judgmental, but if I see them on, you know, sitting there and doing things that are like, hey, I'm like the My Pillow guy. He's up there like Trump, Trump, Trump. No, all right, now I'm cool then. You know what I mean? But you don't hear about certain CEOs showing their face and being like, yeah, Trump, Trump. So it's like I try to like not judge too much because I know it's all about the money and the benefits of supporting the Republican Party in that aspect. But you know, the fact that you're going to support somebody as crazy as Trump, like I understand more of the other Republicans, but Trump, like anybody that supports that guy like wholeheartedly and doesn't even care about like what he's done over these last 4 years, I can't, man. I can't. I'm sorry, you know.
I'm gonna throw the only company that I have feelings about is what you doing, Taco Bell.
Yeah,
What you doing, Taco Bell? Taking
yeah,
all that stuff off the menu. I love my breakfast burrito. Like that's the only thing I can eat, and I can
yeah,
eat. I can actually can. Taco Bell is like the one place where a vegetarian can actually eat if they really need to.
yeah.
But they took off all this stuff on the menu, and I'm like, "What you doing?" It's just a complaint. There's nothing. There's no like any.
Yeah. Taco Bell, I used to eat some of that stuff. The ones around here, I don't think they cook the eggs enough. Like I like my eggs kind of dry. You know what I mean? I don't like it
Yeah,
when I feel when people like here you go, rushed it like it looks like soggy and like nah, I'm good. I'm not cool
it's
with
true.
that.
It's also why I don't eat fast food, really.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
It's like it tastes good at the moment, then like an hour later, why am I so tired? Why do I feel like crap? Like, you know, there's something's off here. And you know what I mean? Like I'm good, especially with McDonald's. I've been cutting back a lot with McDonald's, and you know, like the food is decent. I mean, it tastes good. I mean, in a sense, it's not really good for you and whatever. But I always notice like later on, even with Wendy's they say is like one of the better, you know, because everything's fresh.
Hmm.
And then later on, I'm like, yo, why do I feel so fatigued and crappy? I'm like, I don't feel this when I cook my own burgers and like whatever else. So there's other additives in there that screw you up that I can't mess with it anymore. I like eating at home. I've been saving money by eating at home. You know, Teresa and I, we order because we don't like going in the stores anymore, the shop rights out here. So we order online and then we go pick it up instead. You know what I mean? It's a $5 charge, but at least I don't have to be around the people and being online. Here's another funny story. Did I ever tell you the story? Teresa and I were online and we're sitting and waiting, and it's COVID, so you got the people with the masks, it's the mandatory mask thing. This woman in front of us, man, the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. She starts eating the food in the store. So she's got her mask down, right? She's eating the food. She's touching the cart. You know what I mean? Barehanded, touching the cart, eating the food with her bare hands. So she's like coronavirus all in her, right? She's like touching all this stuff, grabbing the water, breathing. She blew her nose into a rag and all that stuff. Yo, my God, bro! Like it was the nastiest thing. Me and Teresa and I ended up getting off the line because we were like right behind her. We left. I ended up snitching her out because they had police inside the store, like like security police, I guess, like regular police, but because people were acting out during the time. People were getting so pissed off. I don't want to do the mandatory mask thing and blah 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 blah. I have my rights not to have to wear this and blah 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 blah. Right? So I ended up snitching her out as we were walking by the police. I was like, "There's somebody in the other aisle that she's eating and doing, so and so," and made her put on the mask. And it was convenient because we got off that line that was taking forever, got into another line, and ended up leaving it out quicker than the person because we saw her still online when we were leaving. So it worked out better. But at the end of the day, man, that was the nastiest thing. Like, how do you barehandedly, touch things and then like eat things and like blow your nose?
But I mean, okay, so that's the weird thing. I think that was like a status quo of life before, and now we're getting to the point where we see where transmission could occur for anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, humans are gross creatures. I mean, actually most animals are. So
this has been going on for a while though. It's like the COVID thing was going on at that point for a while. And you know that if you touch things you can contract it, right? And I'm looking at this woman, I'm like, I know she knows that this is filthy what she's doing. Like she didn't care. Like I was like, okay, I understand what you're saying. Any other day, you get a bag of chips, you snack a little while you're online. I get that. You know what I mean? And that's not a big deal, especially if you grab the bag and you're like, not digging your hand in there. But she's like touching things and pushing carts, and I'm like, that's nasty, man. That's freaking disgusting. And I know she knows better. You know what I mean? But the fact that
Maybe
she was
she
blowing
doesn't.
her nose, I'm sure a lot of people out there, have caught COVID, thinking everything was sweet, right? And like, oh, I could do this. It's not a big deal. You're over exaggerating and blah blah. I'm like, all right, like she just basically wiped her boogers all over the hand. Like, what happened prior to that? Like, she put her own boogers on it. You know what I mean? So I'm like that's nasty. It's disgusting.
So for me, I can only talk about what happened to me this morning, which wasn't a big deal, but it's something that always bugs me out at this point. When people in line at the bodega, like I'm just trying to get a coffee in the morning, basically. I don't know, she grabbed too much stuff and didn't grab a cart or anything for it. And just right behind me in the line, like there's space back there. Just
you feel it breathing on your neck, right? She's breathing on your neck.
I'm like, and I'm like, there's no reason for it too. Like, I understand if the place was way more crowded, but it wasn't that crowded at that point.
Yeah, man. Oh my God.
It was just a matter of, and I get used to it in a way. Like I will adapt to the problem. I will just move over a little bit further to the right, that kind of thing, just to show my discomfort. But actually, I moved to the right a little bit, and she moved closer in, and I was like, God damn, you need to go.
Oh man,
so I just once I got my coffee in real quick and just left as quickly as I could.
We got to remind ourselves that not everybody uses common sense. Like some people were brought up or they developed the bad habits that they have, and it's scary to you want to think that like they'll get the hint or they'll know better, but some people just don't. I have family members, I have friends, I have people that do things that you think to yourself like, why are you, or friends of the family or whoever it is. I don't want to badmouth people, but like you see certain things, tendencies, and you're like, dude, do you realize like I'm not perfect. I know damn well sometimes I talk too much. Sometimes I say inappropriate things, but at the same time that's part of my personality. Like it's one thing if it impacts somebody negatively, I'll be the first one to apologize for certain things. I'll be the first one to acknowledge when I'm wrong. Like if Teresa and I get into an argument and I think about it for a couple minutes and I'm like, I could have handled that differently, I'll go and apologize. one of the things she's told me is like I asked her like why we work together so well. She's like because you're one of the first people. I'm not saying she's never been apologized to, but she told me that she knows that I know when I'm wrong, that I'll go there and I'll say I'm sorry, or if I did something that was out of line, that I'll correct myself. But a lot of people aren't like that. Some people are like, screw it, man. I'll do me. I don't care. Life's it's about me and how I feel and da 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 da, or my space and what I want. And that entitlement mentality, or like that
I
selfish
mean,
like.
also find yourself as lucky to find a good partner
Yep.
because some of it is even with friendships, I would say that there are some people will not give up on a feeling that they have against
Yep.
someone. Like you may have made mistakes before in your life and they're not even ready to hear your apology. And in some ways you have to just be okay with that. And that's like one of the hardest things to grow and learn is that you take other people's perspectives in and then you have to not be nonchalant, but you have to allow them to have that space in a way because they're talking from their motivation, and you have to understand that it's not all you either way.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
unless you really screwed up and you have to apologize for something, that's normal. I think that's a human thing. We all make mistakes. But I think there's an attitude amongst some people that you can't come back from anything that you do,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
and that also that the comments are about them.
Yep.
So it's very easy to get emotional about a situation when you weren't even thinking about that person.
Yep.
We live in a society where like there's just so much flying around that you're like you don't know what's not about you, but more like what's pertaining to you. Like a lot of stuff people throw out as memes and stuff. Sometimes I feel like weird about being on Facebook because I'm like, you don't know that you're kind of talking about all guys
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
all of this type of people, but that's okay. That's fair. Your meme, it makes sense, but it also stereotypes a whole area of people, like people with mental health or mental health issues.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you forget nuance, which is it's understandable if you've been done wrong.
Yeah.
I think that's something. Like if you feel like you've been done wrong, that's fine. But it's a difficult topic to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's, as long as we're okay and we can move forward, the whole thing is about learning from mistakes and moving forward, right? A lot of people, they're I don't know. It is what it is, man. Like we live in a world where, like for instance, Trump, he makes a mistake, he was right no matter what, right? Like that mentality, right? Like some people are just,
Exactly.
just like that, and like those are the people that are really problematic. Like I think it's an honorable thing to like even with my sister and I, me and my sister have like arguments. I try to help her with certain situations, and we get into arguments about it. And I try to tell her, I'm doing this because I care about you. Like I tell you certain things, and yet we get into like little things because she feels like she's right versus what I'm right, and I have to respect that. You know what I mean? So sometimes I come out a little harsh, like I feel like I'm being disrespected for trying to help you, but at the end of the day, I got to also look at it from your perspective. If you feel a certain way, I got to respect that. And then hopefully down the line, we'll be able to, like you said, the word nuance. Like I have to kind of gauge myself in like how to approach her and doing things and be as respectful to how she feels about things. And I'll apologize when I feel like I go a little too harsh on it. I don't know if I'm being clear about it, but everybody's
No,
different, man.
I
At the
get
end
it.
of the day, everybody's different, and you know, like I just want everybody to be happy. I think this society is like over years and years of like this is just everybody. They go through whatever they go through, and it kind of ingrains it on that person, and then it's hard to feel differently. And it's tough, man. Like
Hmm.
I try to like let a lot of my old like things go, and I'm lucky, like you said. I found Teresa, and she allowed me to kind of like fall back like from all the stuff, the lack of trust with women, the me being out there doing certain things that I shouldn't have been doing, and it allowed me to change for the better. Like it's a blessing. Even our relationship, me and you is meeting, through her. You know what I mean? Like she's seen something good in you that she said, you know, it'll be beneficial that, you know, maybe we work together and stuff. So it was a blessing, bro. Like I can't deny the fact that I've been lucky for the last several years. You know, there's been a lot of hard times in the past. There's still hard times now, but you know, at least I'm not surrounding myself with people that are good for me and allow me to develop myself into something better and actually you know, do more things with my life, you know, that allows me to, you know, develop into a better thing, I guess. You know, like I'm now doing more technical work. I'm learning new things and it's exciting. It's kind of exciting in a sense. I think this shows is an exciting thing in my life. And you know, it is what it is, man. Hopefully we'll be able to bring more to the stage, you know, to the show or whatever it is. You know, that'll help others as well to see that it's not all bad out there. You know what I mean? Like I think there are good things. I just, you know, it's the external stuff that I was about to say fucks us up, but you know, I guess I could curse once in the show.
It is. Yeah, you only got one. You're all right.
Yeah, yeah. It's all the external stuff, right? You know, the
Yep.
like it's always other things that are impacting our lives that are making it harder for us. It's not necessarily the inner circle. Sometimes it's the inner circle. That's the hardest part when it's the inner circle. That's screwing things up. But you know, luckily, I think like we're slowly developing an inner circle that'll hopefully be able to, you know, extend out to other people and make the circle bigger. You know, so that's what my goal is: bring the community together and make our circle bigger. And now we don't have to worry too much about this knucklehead in the office, you know, making it harder because you know Trump was a element in my life that I'm so happy. You know, it seems like in the next couple of weeks he'll be an well, maybe not a full afterthought because he's still going to be blabbing in the background, right? But hopefully he won't be on the forefront, and maybe Twitter will cut his mic off. I'm hoping, you know, like some of the stuff that's going on. Yeah, yeah.
That's possible because he will not be an elected official anymore.
Yeah, he's like, shut up, just shut that mic off, like, please, God, please, man. But he'll still have his 40. What is it? 80. How many people voted for him? I think how many people?
74 million, I believe.
Yeah, so he'll have.
Look at that number right now.
He'll still have his cult followers, right? He'll have several million people still following him, right?
Yeah, I just want to know what the official number was. Of course, that gives me electoral college instead of the popular vote number.
That dude makes me nauseous. I didn't like him since The Apprentice, man. I don't know how he got elected. I don't understand how people couldn't see through his BS the way he was. Did you see the video?
74. 74.
Did you see there was a clip from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air of Ashley yelling at Trump saying, "You ruined my life." Like there's a meme out that yo, it's hilarious. Like he was on one of the shows and somebody made it into a meme where Ashley's yelling at Trump like, "You ruined my life," and she runs away and Will was like, "Ashley, don't say that," you know, like, or whatever it was.
Ashley, don't say that.
Yeah, it was hilarious, man. But you know, that was a young Trump and a young Will Smith, and you know, yeah, man, that was pretty funny. Like, I'm surprised
he wasn't that young either. To be honest, he was still in his 40s by then.
Oh, Trump, yeah.
And that's kind of a crazy idea. That's
you see some of his old his old videos of Trump. He looks a lot like his sons when you start looking back at some of the stuff.
Yes.
Like, I look at him like, damn, he was a doofy looking, like, he looks as dumb as his, you know. But you know, the money talks, man. You know, people saw that there's a billionaire or a millionaire or whatever at the time. You know, people look at that and you know, people are obsessed with that crap. And it's funny how people are over money, man. Money makes people do some crazy stuff, man. But oh well, it is what it is.
I think that's a good statement to wrap up this show. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much what it is, right? Yeah. Capitalism will make you do crazy things.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining us today. Thank you for joining us, and hope we all grew a little bit and shared a little bit of ourselves and know a little bit more than we started today.
Definitely. Love you guys. See you soon.
Love you guys. See you soon.